Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Money Is Show. And today on the guest, we have a person who actually flew himself here, all the way from California on his own plane. And we brought in Anthony Garcia to speak to you guys today. He's a attorney out of Orange County that does nationwide law work for all you guys that are doing loans, private lending, funds. You're managing funds. You want to open a fund. You're looking to invest in a fund. This is a guy that you should talk to. He also owns Geraci Con, which is a conference of innovate and captivate for the lending market. Author of this book, which we're going to talk about in just a second as well. On that note, Anthony, thanks for flying in, or flying yourself in.
Thanks for having me. This is going to be a lot of fun.
So you flew in from California on the plane.
Yep.
Let's talk about that for a second. I think you're the first guest, if I can remember, I believe there might be, I think so, that flew themselves in on the plane. What got you into flying your own planes?
That's a great question. So a buddy of mine owns a flight school out of Riverside, California.
Okay.
And he flew me before. It didn't really take, but this will sound really silly, but I think most things come out of silly moments. I wanted to go to Catalina. Catalina has a Catalina wine mixer. And I was like, well, this should be fun. So I call him up. I was like, I'm going. You want to go? Yeah, absolutely. What I'll do is I'll come pick you up at John Wayne from Riverside, which give you an idea of distance for most people who don't know these areas. Like 40 minutes by drive. So it's literally a 15-minute flight there. Yep. And then we're gonna go to Catalina, which is a 20-minute flight over there. So we're talking a whole total time of less than an hour of flying. So he flew in, picked me up at the private terminal there at John Wayne, and flew over to Catalina. But what it did is it opened up my eyes. And it opened up my eyes, so wow, this is total freedom. You mean I can leave whenever I want, I can go wherever I want, and that was it. Like, we didn't have a flight plan or anything. He picked me up. We made this decision the day before. Picked me up. We flew over, and it was just amazing. Yeah. So I took my first flight lesson October 1st of 2019, and so there's only a couple of years. I did it during COVID. And now have my commercial pilot certificate. So
you got your started flight school in 2019. Right now we're 2021. Went through it all, passed it, et cetera. Now you fly yourself around on the plane right now. Took you what, 3 hours you said to get here from
3
California?
Hours,
flight time, and now you're gonna bounce back tonight.
I'll bounce back tonight.
I think you were talking about going to one of your kids' games or something.
Yeah, going to dinner with the kids.
Your kids. On the plane thing, I was thinking about it. A lot of people, as they get into it, when they look from the outside, right? Like, oh, here's this attorney with a plane that flies himself around. There's this or anybody, right? Not just an attorney, but because we're on the show, they have this like natural planes are stupid. The cost effective is never there. There's this sometimes negative personification when someone has a plane that they're egotistical. They're look at this rich person on this plane, jet, et cetera, whatever it may be. What's not always discussed is what I think is some of the most positive things that have happened with having access to a private plane. Talk to me about that just a little bit on the positive side. What is that private plane? What can it do for you?
So many positive things. I mean, I talk about, we talked about it a little bit beforehand about flying my kids places. Yeah. I'm able to create experiences. In fact, one of the traditions I created as a result of this last year is we have an end of summer trip. So my kids are still in school. So my son is 12, my daughter 10, my youngest is 5, so they'll be 13, 11, and 6. And we create experiences, which is we went to Lake Tahoe, which was a quick 3-hour flight from Orange County to Tahoe. Sure. And we had a 4-day end of summer trip, and I had checklists for them and everything, but it allowed me to create that type of thing with them and really be a part of it. I work a lot, of course, but when I'm there, I want to be there. Another thing it creates for me is the ability of time. As you know, after this, I'm flying back home, going to dinner with my kids. It allows me to be flexible and go home, go spend time with the kids, and be a part of the family. Yeah, because if not on this one, you might not be leaving until tomorrow morning. Exactly. Which misses a whole other session day. And cancellations, delays. We've all been there from the commercial side. There's delays, there's cancellations, there's issues, and well. Yeah, so to me, it's like, I think there's all that, which is the time freedom, but to me, the biggest thing is the experiences. I think that taking your family on it and there's something unique that takes place. And again, money is like, part of what money should be doing is creating experiences with your family, kids, et cetera, inside of it. So let me move to your business here. So you have this law firm. Number one, I want to go back to attorneys in general, or esquires.
in general, you always intrigue me. At what point growing up did you say, I want to be an attorney? When did that take place?
Gosh, it took place, I think I went through 5 majors in college, by the way. Really that indecisive, what am I going to do for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I really love, and I had got my bachelor's in, was history.
Okay.
And I had this professor, Doc, if you're listening, Dr. White's, still out there and still a great guy. We still talk. And it was during one of his advanced history courses. And this guy, by the way, is a published author, PhD, amazing guy. He's also an attorney. We're going to come to that in just a second. And so during office hours, I was like, I really love history. What do you advise as a career? And he looked me in the eye and he said, don't get into history. I'm like, well, now I'm confused. You're here and you're teaching history. This is your career. Right. Well, history is great, but you're not going to make any money whatsoever. I still have to practice law part-time to afford a lifestyle in which I enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's when the light went off. I was like, oh. Well, okay. And history could be, you have to have the same skill set for history as you do with attorneys, which is researching, understanding what happens, putting, as I like to call it, as you guys love to give me, I get limited information, pieces, and I have to kind of make the whole puzzle, which actually is fun for me. I love doing that. Taking little bits of pieces and making it grow.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of attorney work is exactly what you said. It's like painting up art.
Yeah.
With only certain pieces and only certain pieces given to you, and not a lot of times when you watch like a documentary, you're like, oh, this makes all the sense in the world. Yeah, but that documentary was only created because of all these pieces and then a story was told off of all these pieces that inside of it. So you went through college and you didn't really discover that you were going to be an attorney until you were basically already in college, already degrees at the time.
You got it.
You leave college. You're an attorney. And you have a unique niche. Your market is extremely niche. Yeah. Obviously, most attorneys go into litigation or defense attorneys, or they want to go into bankruptcy attorneys or divorce attorneys, et cetera, right? And you went into private lending law firm, which I don't think there's a lot of them out there.
There's not. No, in fact, as my mentor retired, and I fell into it. Really.
Okay.
I knew real estate, right? You hear about all the time, and I didn't have this big thing. I wanted to make money as an attorney, right? And you can question the choices. That's a whole different story. But that was my understanding at the time. And I was like, well, I understand that real estate makes money, and I love real estate. I understand real estate. Let me go into that. And so I saw a job advertisement for mortgages. Well, outside of a real basic understanding of what a mortgage is as a tied to real estate, that sounds interesting. Let me apply for that job. And I got the job and worked there 2.5 years, then founded my law firm, and all in the same law, which is private lending.
All private lending side. For those just that are listening that may be a little bit confused under the private lending side, break it down just high level. What do you mean by private lending?
So everybody's familiar with a bank, or if they're not, bank. If you want to go buy a home, I'm going to keep it very, very simple. You want to buy a home and you're not going to pay for it all in cash. You go to a bank and they'll give you a mortgage on the property. Well, what if for whatever reason it does not qualify or you don't qualify? And there's a lot of reasons why it won't, and we can get into that. But a bank won't underwrite you. Yeah. Well, there's another world out there, which is what I call private lending, which is personal lending. I like you. I recognize the risk, and I think you're going to be good on it. I will lend you money to buy your home. And usually they're higher interest rates, and I get a good deal out of it because out of my IRA or my own personal money, I'm going to earn a set return. So I'm comfortable, and I'm lending that money to you, and I think you're a great guy. You're going to pay it back or refinance me out when you do qualify for that bank loan. Yeah. So your law firm specializes in any type of the private lending world, not just the one-on-one private lender from me to a buddy of mine that's going to flip this house or whatever, but you also do the funds, set up the PPMs, all that type of stuff as well? We sure do. Yeah, our clients range from, as you said, the mom and pops of the world, one-off investors, to our biggest clients do multi-billion dollars a year in originations. And right now you're based in California, you do all states. You got 20 attorneys on staff now? 20 attorneys on staff, and we have 5 partners. Yeah. What is that like in a room of 20 attorneys, man? I mean, I work with attorneys all the time, but it's like 20 attorneys. What is that conference room like? It can get heated at times, especially when it's, it doesn't get heated on basic laws, right? The thing that I really appreciate about law itself is I get some interesting new laws that come down and interesting cases we can work on. So it gets heated in the sense of we have differing opinions. At the end of the day, it's more of how do we help our client out of a problem or, structure a future problem.
Yeah,
and that's
structure.
all. And it's funny, you go back to everybody does litigation and stuff like that. That's what law schools teach.
Right.
But what do you litigate? You litigate the structures that somebody else creates.
Yep.
And so you're trying to figure out future problems.
Yeah.
Which is always fun. As I said, I get these limited pieces, and I get to make a whole painting as we were talking about. And it's the same thing in law. I got to structure something that here's the basic understanding, but then I got to fast forward 5, 10, 15 years in the future. What is a judge going to think of this when it comes down to enforcement?
Mm-hmm. Now, you got the private lending law side, which you guys run a massive firm there, but you also are a private lender.
I am, yeah.
You actually still do it yourself.
I still do it, yeah. I started in 2009. It's one of those things of my clients, funny enough, got me into it. Well, do you lend out money? And the first couple of years I'm growing my law firm, I was like, no, I help you guys out. I'm fine with it. Yeah. And finally, 2009, one of my clients said, well, do you lend out? I was like, I'd be interested. I see where everybody's running, and to rewind for the audience, 2007, everybody understands the mortgage crash. So notably in 2009, where things are pretty settled, everybody's afraid to lend. We don't know what's going to happen next. We've got these laws coming out. I was like, well, it was Warren Buffett who said, I'll go in where people are fearful, and I'll walk away when people are greedy. So people are fearful. I was like, there's got to be money to be made there. And so I did my first loan with a broker client of ours in 2009, and I've been going ever since. On
the private lending side. What made you write the book? You wrote the book here, Earning Money While You Sleep.
Yeah, this came about as a result of 2016, 2017. Really wanted to educate, because this was, gosh, if I had to rewind my industry back in 2002, 2005, not even known at all. And a lot of our clients were trying to get awareness, and a lot of our clients have written kind of books. But really got it here is almost an acceptance of private lending. You really started hearing about it, and there's an association, as you know, American Association of Private Lenders. More and more people are hearing about alternate yields, especially as there was a zero rate interest environment from 2013 to 2017. And I was like, I wanted to show the world there is an alternative to earning nothing and losing money in your savings account. There's other avenues out there. Here, let me just educate you. I wasn't pointing them to anything, but I want you to understand my world. Yeah.
So this book is this book written for the person right now that is, the demographic would be someone who maybe has a full-time job, has a career, they have money maybe inside of a old retirement account that they have, et cetera, and they're looking to do something besides your typical maybe 401k or mutual funds or sitting in a savings account, CD. This is introducing them into this new world that for them is a new world, not a new world that existed, of private lending itself. That's kind of who the demographic is for.
You got it. Educating people on what we do in private lending.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into. I know you started this Geraci conference that you guys have, and I want to talk a little bit about that. Before I do that, if they want to get a copy of the book, where's the best place for them to go get a copy of the book?
Yeah, best place is to email us. So our website is www.geracillp.com.
Okay.
And Geraci is spelled Geraci. Or email me. My contact is on the website itself. Happy to send a copy to anybody who wants one.
Cool. So if they want it, they can go to your website there and then send you an email, get a copy of it.
Happy to provide one.
Now you started this Geraci Con, right? And which is playing off the word of Comic-Con that everybody started using. So you started Geraci Con. What was the purpose of this conference? What does it do?
And I would say the purpose of my life more than anything else is, you ever see the movie Robots? It's a cartoon. I have kids.
Okay.
Yeah. And one of the lines, and I steal it from them all the time, is if you see a need, you fill a need. Right?
Sure.
That was this whole thing about repairing robots, and that's helped me throughout my entire career. So see a need, fill a need.
Yeah.
We have associations, of course, that help out and teach the compliance side of private lending. Great. But what about something that just focuses on certain segments of the industry? So, within Geraci Con, we have 2 conferences. One's Innovate, and that really focuses on what are the innovations that are happening. So currently, as of right now, cannabis lending is the hottest new thing as far as private lenders being able to lend on cannabis properties. How do they exit? How do they lend safely and not get in, because we still have the questionable aspect of, well, is cannabis legal? Is it not legal? Who knows? So we talk about that. We've taught construction loans are coming back. So we also talk about things that are coming back, not necessarily new, but there's always a new spin on old things, as you know, and being a business owner yourself. And then Captivate itself, the other niche that we try to solve is, well, everybody's always looking for capital, but outside of going to people they know, their circles of influence, can you just create one place where people will be? And that was what we did with Captivate. We have investors, people who are willing to invest in funds, invest in notes, really wanting to listen to what you have to pitch. And so it's not an apology or anything. We tell people this is a straight pitch. If you want to be on the platform, you're going to have 15 minutes, pitch your fund, pitch your idea, And if investors are interested, they're going to connect with you.
If they're not, they're not.
And if they're not, they're not. All I can do is bring everybody together. I can't make them do anything.
And you have a decent amount of people there. You have 300 this year. I think you said you're expecting 370,
370 people. Yeah, we should hit over 400 is likely.
For this year. Okay, I want to talk about something you just mentioned, which was you used a couple times the word niche in your business and your in that conference there. Where does the word niche apply to you in business? Where does that affected you?
Everything. My entire career has started on a niche, right?
Yeah.
There's probably a handful of law firms that actually do private lending and
specialize in it.
They specialize in it, exactly. And I think we're probably the largest law firm that specializes in private lending.
Yeah.
So I built my entire career on a niche. And then other things, the niches of, well, there's a capital raise thing. That's what the conference line is for. Where are the different niches that we can come up with that really service the industry itself? I mean, that's what I've dedicated my entire life and career to private lending and non-conventional lending itself is how do I connect people? How do I grow people? And the whole theory behind that is if I help somebody grow, then I grow as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think niche, the niche market, I think is a market that, it's been around forever. Like even if you go back earlier in our careers when in real estate, there's that funny saying that says the riches are in the niches, right? And it's like picking, inside of real estate investing, there's like 1,000 different ways you could go invest inside of real estate, right? And it's like, dude, just pick a niche that is good for you, that you understand, that you like, and go down that niche. Don't try to do it all for everybody. And there's a lot of truth inside of it in real estate, but there's also a high level of truth of it inside of business. And I think kind of the market itself is changing. I always like to step back and kind of just look at the market and think, dude, what is going on right now? We kind of talk about just in the market in general, which I'm gonna ask you about in inflation in a second, but I always just sitting back and just like pondering about what's happening and why does this take place? And when I look at the market, I look at it as how it changed to, in history, you look at there was the mom and pop kind of main street, and then it went to then there was the Walmart that kind of changed that, and then it became the Amazon, which is even a bigger version of the Walmart, right? And it's all massively based, and Facebook kind of going that same theme. Facebook, widespread, over 1 billion customers on it. And I never forget listening to Mark Zuckerberg. He was making a presentation, and he said he was launching the private Facebook groups when they launched those, and he said, I believe the private Facebook groups are going to be the wave of the future for Facebook. Like this is going to be massive for us. He was talking about the niche market. And I think so much of our industry is kind of tired, not our industry, the world is kind of tired of the super, super broad, everything's, you get everything you want in this one massive place. And I just see it, and I'm doing business right now that are very hyper niched. Because I think people want it now.
Yeah.
They're tired of going to their Facebook and seeing all these posts that have nothing to do with what they want to go see, but the algorithm shows them these posts, right? And I just think niches are going to get, they've always been a producer, and I think they're going to go a bigger producer just because of our kind of how our culture market is. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
I completely agree. It's funny. The older I get, the more the cliches have meaning. And it's funny. I never understood them when in my 20s or 30s, but and I'm in my 40s now. And it's funny how all the cliches now start to make a lot of sense, which is what you were saying. And that the cliche I remember is jack of all trades, master of none.
Master of none.
Would you, especially in my niche, would you go hire a general attorney? Yes, you can. Would I eat them alive? Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no way they're going to understand.
In this area.
Yeah.
And so do you want somebody who knows the area, or do you want somebody who they know everything about this area and can help you?
And that niche right there, and it's funny, you talk about money, right? When I find wealthy people, wealthy individuals, I'm just telling you, the second cliche little phrase that you said there is just what I find all the time, which is, jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah. And I find when they find wealthy people, they are not jack of all trades. Right. They know what they're good at, they know their strengths, and they hyper focused on what that thing, whatever that thing was, that's what they hyper focused on. And as they got more and more money and they got wealthier and bigger, it doesn't mean they didn't ever branch out and go own a different thing, but their niche is what got them to the point where they could then have a piece of this and this and this and this and this, but they know what that niche is. Like your law firm,
absolutely.
Obviously you could go do bankruptcy and you could go do divorce courts and all the other type of law out there. You're legally allowed to, but you're hyper focused on what you do. And like you said, if you're going to go get in a courtroom and have to go battle someone over what this private lending contract meant and what it was leaning to and saying, dude, I want someone who's a freaking expert at that concept. not a general attorney who just has general knowledge about general law.
Exactly.
And I think the whole market is going in that very niche world, man. I see a lot. I want to take it back for a second because I know you understand money and of course the private lending is all financial based laws, and you watch the market nonstop. And we were talking earlier about inflation.
Oh yeah.
Right? And it's like, dude, in whatever, the last 12 months, $6 trillion is getting pumped out. I just take a step back and think, WTF, like what is going on, bro? There's no way this is sustainable. And sometimes I feel like I'm like this weirdo around other entrepreneurs that are just like, no, keep going. And I'm like, no, I'm pulling back right now. What do you see out there in the market, man?
Oh, I agree. I pulled back as well, as we were talking about in the time. I mean, I don't know how you can print $6 trillion and have no effects whatsoever. I mean, on any logical basis, and of course, neither one of us are economists, but I even listen to economists, and they're saying, no, inflation is real this time. And it makes perfect sense. You just can't pump $6 trillion in a market and expect no negative effects. That'd be like, well, gosh, why did we stop it? Let's go print $10 trillion.
Hey, listen, if there's no negative effect, well, let's keep going and just, I'll take more then, just keep pumping.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. And you see that in its basic economics, I mean, gas, no one's talking about gas, as we were talking about it as well. Yeah, gas has increased, and you can say, well, it's because of demand. Maybe. But also you can see about how oil was trading when there wasn't much demand at negative dollars. And did we capitalize on it? Because we all knew it was coming back at some point.
Yep.
Now the people who bought into that are now capitalizing on the differentiation. And so where do we go from here? And we've talked about, I don't even think we're speculating. There's been some fraud in the PPP loans and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
People brag about it and stuff like that. And how many billions, if not trillions of dollars is that equal to, that are just going to buy Lamborghinis?
And you got to think about this. It's hard to comprehend. I mean, again, I run a show called Money Is. I work with CEOs all the time that are super wealthy, and it's one thing you start talking about millions, and then you're like, okay, I'm a billionaire. Okay, when you stop and think, when someone says they're a billionaire, right? Dude, that's a lot of money. When you say I'm worth $1 billion.
Right.
There's not even that many people on the face of the planet that can say that, right? Like, I've reached the point of a billion. Then you say the word trillion, and it's like, it's hard to even comprehend what $1 trillion is. And then you say, oh, there's 6 trillion that we just printed. Dude, that is insane amount of money. Insane amount of money, dude. That was printed, created, and pumped out on the marketplace. Yeah. There has to be side effects from this.
Yeah, and again, I've looked, we could look at it, you're gonna see deflation of the dollar at a bare minimum. There's no other way it could happen, and you look at it, you take that, and we've talked about the housing market a lot, you tie that to, I think it was your point, that, well, people are buying payments. Well, the payments are now tied to this 2 and 3% interest loans, very low interest rate. Yeah. What's gonna happen the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months? And I bet money on it, when the money stops flowing in, the interest rates have to go up.
They have to go up. There's no other way. It's like, I don't want to be by no means, I am a full-on happy, love life to the fullest, and I don't want to be a negative person. I'm just telling you, shit's coming.
Yeah.
Shit's coming, man. It has to happen. It's mathematically impossible. It's gonna happen. And if you're listening today and you're like trying to make decisions on it, man, I'm not telling you any way of how to go do it, but I can just tell you in my own life, like I have pulled back.
Same.
Pulled back, man. I even told you, like, I recently moved out here, and it's like I want to buy a house, but I'm like, I can't. I cannot go pull that trigger right now, because I just, in my brain and in my stomach, those that know, I had a massive crash in 07, and it just seems every bit of like repeat mode. I know that the economics are different in the 6 trillion pumped, and that was the mortgage crisis, but I'm just saying the feeling of it. What entrepreneurs are saying when, like, this doesn't make sense, but then we ignore it, like, oh, it doesn't matter, and we just keep going this route.
Right.
It's like, no, that does matter, but they just ignore it. You know what I mean? It's insane, man. Yeah. Absolutely insane.
Well, and I think we'll see some version of it again. Now the economics are different, but I think it's still the same. The same pressures still happen.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it earlier. You still have a same median income, right? Yeah. But then you see housing prices. Yeah. I rewind almost to '98, and Fannie Mae. I take no credit for this. Fannie Mae came up with this, I think, in 2008, 2009, a chart of what happened between '98 and 07. Well, you had all this income basically steady, right? It hadn't changed in 40 years. The housing market keeps on going up.
Yeah.
And up and up, which is fine. If you upgrade your house, that happens. But at some point, that entry-level house has to be bought by the entry-level person.
Yep.
And when you don't have enough matches there, the whole, if you will, house of cards starts tumbling down.
The equity starts dropping. I swear, man. Sometimes I feel like, and again, I would say young inside of watching the economy, but going back to the last one of this one, I swear sometimes I feel like they pump up the housing market because it creates money for everybody, right? And it's like they just reset it and it goes back down, and then they build it all back up again, and when I say it creates money, the amount of ripple effect from construction of housing market and so forth is insane, right? Like the amount of people that are involved in touching that one house, right, is massively, everything from a logger in Oregon who's cutting trees down to a painter that's going to paint the house, right? But the ripple effect is huge. And then, but the other thing where it creates money is because of the appreciation, that house goes up $200,000 all of a sudden, and that homeowner can go in and pull out $150,000, and it creates money on a market without creating the 6 trillion style. You know what I mean? It creates money on the marketplace, and then it crashes and resets. It's mathematically impossible that it keeps going up. Housing keeps going up, right? Even in California, where you're from, there's a certain point where it can't go higher. Median pricing cannot go higher. Or there's no such thing as median pricing, and now it's just only the top 10% of the wealth can own a house in California. Everybody else is gonna have to stay at apartments.
Well, it's crazy. You know, I don't know everywhere around the world. We were talking just in, locally here, as well as, where I live in Orange County. The median house in Orange County is over $1 million.
Yeah, for a three
bedroom, 2 bath. It's not, you're not getting the huge land. You're not getting the sexy house. You're getting an 1,800 square foot house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath. $1 million. Yeah,
it's unique, man. I think people should really start paying attention as to what's going on out there with the marketplace. Let's talk more about, go back to the law firm for a second here. If someone does need help in the law firm, same website?
Same website, GeraciLLP.com.
LLP.com. And I want to talk about go back to the conference as well. Inside the conference, I love that you have 2 different ones. You have Innovate and Captivate. I love alliteration on words. It's like one of my favorite things. And then, of course, I run kind of a conference mastermind, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh man, I should name each of mine like a kind of a theme. But I love the strategy that you took with it. On the Captivate side, we talk about helping people raise money. It makes me think of like a Shark Tank type of style.
Absolutely.
And you're letting these people that are trying to raise capital for ABC project, cannabis, whatever it may be, they get up and able to lay out their data, their deal points at a high level to the group of investors that are out there.
Absolutely, yeah. And so, as you know, I have a great marketing team that takes care of all the details. But from what my awareness is, we have investors that total are over $100 million in investable assets at that conference. So
at the conference,
they'll be there to invest or look for deal flow, especially because again, the same type of thing is happening. On the private lending side of the market, deal flow is getting scarce because. It's been out finding the reverse. If money is so cheap, then there's a yield compression in our world. So I think you and I were talking about certain lenders we both know. They're down to 4% in loans. 4% private lending. Yeah,
it's insane, dude.
I mean, banks. I've been quoted from banks 3 and 4%.
That's what I'm saying. You're competing with the traditional bank, and this is a private lender.
And you know where we saw that last time?
Yeah, I know where we saw it last time.
2007. I hate to be a broken record, but that's that. The same metrics, right? And we all see different pieces, right? Warren Buffett saw something. I remember reading the news about how some metric, if it inverses, then now it's going to be a crash is imminent. And I think we see it through almost a lot of different market segments. Back to our private lending, which we know a lot. It just is unsustainable. That's the best word you can come up with. It is unsustainable that someone who is going to make $50,000, $60,000 a year can afford $1 million house.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
Mathematically, it doesn't work out. Logic does not add up.
Logic is undefeated.
I want to ask you a question. You start this incredible law firm. You got the conferences you run, the media arm as well inside of it. You obviously wrote books, private lending. I want to talk about in your career. Kind of twofold question here that I love to ask. And I stole this from Elon Musk, is where I stole this from. He said it's his favorite interview question that he asked, which is number one, I want you to kind of give us a high level example of kind of the biggest hurdle or problem that you've faced in those 20 plus career of business. What was the biggest hurdle you faced And then how did you overcome? What did you do to actually fix that problem or overcome that problem inside of it? Give us an example of a big hurdle that you faced in business.
Gosh, yeah. There's several, right? And
yeah, because it's not a one. It's like pick your poison.
I think it's we always talk about our successes, but most entrepreneurs I know have failed more than they succeeded.
Oh man.
And but I can tell you the biggest problem, funny enough, was me.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
interesting. I haven't heard that answer before.
Yeah, it was me.
I love asking this question because I just learned so much about it.
Yeah.
So yours was you.
Yeah, and think about it so before I went to law school, I had a retail background. So I was a manager, right? I could manage people. I got to know people.
Okay.
I'm a people person, for lack of a better word. Come into law, I of course can produce. I produce at a high level, and then. Now that I'm still the partner, right? Now I have associates underneath me. All right, that's still manageable.
Okay.
But then right around 7 to 10 attorneys with 3 different departments,
yeah, I'm
a manager still. Where are we going? I don't know. This looks good. Can we just continue this way? And what I found along the way is I've had to reinvent myself 3 or 4 different times. I went from what I would call being a manager. I can run people. I would even back up. I can be a producer, right? I can produce documents. I can give good legal advice. I know what I'm doing. And that's great, right?
Yeah.
And if I only did that, I'd be a great one-man shop for the rest of my life. And then we expanded to 5. Okay, now I know how to work with a team of people. And again, I can manage a team of people. I'm great at it, and they'll be great. What's next? Well, then I had to reinvent myself. Now I have to become a CEO. And what is a CEO? Well, now I got to have a vision and direction of this company. Where are we going? I need to figure that out quickly. How do I figure that out? And I belong to business groups and different masterminds and stuff like that to really try to figure out. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. There's other people much smarter than me. How do I at least learn from them and kind of internalize? Okay, this is where I need to go. How do I grow? And I had to invent myself one more time, not just as CEO, but. We talked about it, but why do I fly myself? Is I like the controls. And the toughest lesson I've had to learn was letting go.
Let it go, yeah.
And it seems silly, right? I'll just let it go. It'd be fine. But
it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
No,
yeah.
no.
And it forced me to, again, I think the best line I've had is delegate but don't abdicate. I had to put metrics in my system. I had to make a big circle, right? And as long as everything's in that circle, I'm good. If it goes out of that circle, I need to investigate. And so I came up with the quasi formula, as I call it, is D equals 70%, which is delegate. If someone can do it 70% as well as I can, I want to delegate whatever task, whatever function it is.
Okay.
If it's, because that 30% is usually nuances. Well, you did it differently. We came to the same result, but you didn't differently than me.
Yeah.
Well, that's wrong. You didn't dot that I right or that T right.
But no,
I wouldn't have dotted that I.
Right, right.
But they come to different methods to the same result.
But it came to the same outcome of it.
And if the same outcome is largely the same, which is about 70%, delegate it.
Yeah.
I don't need to be doing that.
Yeah.
So really, the biggest problem is getting out of my own way. I had to learn to let go, and then also learn how to grow a company from 5 attorneys up to 20, and where do we go now?
Yeah, and inside of that business, as you're growing, as an entrepreneur, you're growing, and you gave a perfect example because you start off and it's like, okay, I'm an attorney, and I have some paralegals, and then it's like, okay, now I have 5 attorneys that work for me, and then next thing you know, you're CEO, and it's like, okay, well now I do less attorney work, and I'm actually more of a CEO of attorneys that are doing all the legal work, right? And you have that progression, and in each of those, you have to reinvent yourself, and in your example, get out of your own way. I want to ask you the question: if someone's listening right now, they're thinking, "Man, I feel like I'm in that kind of growing pain, if you want to call it that, right? Where in your example, 5 attorneys to I'm at 20 attorneys, and I'm a CEO." Yeah. What would you tell them of how to overcome themselves, or get out of their own way, or reinvent themselves? Where should they kind of start that journey at about reinventing themselves?
I think it comes down to trust. So I read a lot. Some people go to masterminds. Masterminds are great, by the way. Go to masterminds. Go to different business. Like there's a group called Entrepreneurs Organizations, or EO.
Yeah.
Business groups like that. Putting those aside, if you have only time to read books. I've been the beneficiary of so many great books. Patrick Lencioni puts out a series. You probably read them. 5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
Yep.
How about the 4? I forget the 4 issues with a CEO and how to overcome those. How do you getting out of your own way?
Yeah.
One book that was really impactful he had was Getting Naked. Not quite the unclothing part, but really being vulnerable.
Vulnerable. Keyword, man, vulnerable.
And I think a lot of people get caught up in their own ego, right? They're not ready to face who they are.
Yeah.
And when it's funny because I joined a business group, EO, to become a better business person. But what I found out is before I can become a better business person, I have to become a better person. And that meant being humble as far as well, what are my roadblocks? What can I not see? And then how do I get people around me that see what I don't see?
Yeah. I want to talk to you about reading for a second, because I was an avid reader, and to the point where, I was reading a minimum a book a week. And I was even, because I kind of come up from the teaching background, I was like, well, for me to really be able to understand it, I have to be able to kind of teach it.
Right.
And so I would read a book a week and then write a full-on report, almost like a book report of, okay, here's what it was happening, here's how it worked, here's what they were saying. I did that for years. But lately I've changed my philosophy of reading. And everybody says, leaders are readers and so forth. And for a while, I just thought it was about reading and reading and reading and reading. But lately, I've changed it to the point where I think reading for me has moved from, it used to be like I wanted to read it to learn someone's strategy to go implement ABC strategy, to now reading has become, I want to read because that alone time, and then when I start reading, it triggers my brain, and I start coming up creative concepts, ideas that I can start to go play with, nuances that I can start developing. Do you find that when you read, that you're reading what the author is telling you to go do and then you go do that? Or is it more, and there's a hybrid I'm sure, or is it more, it triggers your own brain and it's like, it unlocks more growth internally in your own brain?
Definitely hybrid, but also the latter, which is the important part. And there's something to be said about getting out of your own industry, right? I don't go to legal conferences. They don't teach me anything on that. But I'll go to like a medical conference.
Okay, interesting.
Like, why? I have nothing regarding medical. Or I'll read a book, that has nothing to do with anything I do, but they do it differently, right?
Yeah.
And that will trigger ideas, something completely different in my world of well, how do we get different ideas? So I'll bring a real world scenario. Our conference line, for instance. What does an attorney know about running a conference? Not much, Of course, I was one of the founders of American Association of Private Lenders, and we didn't know much about that either. But you go to an event conference, conferences that put on events. Well, this should be interesting. And I got to learn so many different tools, like electronic checking in, by the way. Just easy machines that could do that, print out badges immediately, creating that experience, the stickers, the signs, everything. Because we talk about money is experience, but life is experience too. And I think everybody wants an experience in their life.
For sure.
So making the conference not just about putting two people together, but how do you make it an experience in and of itself? That's what I learned from the event conference, and that's what I brought into our conference line. So getting out of your industry teaches me, at least, a lot of what I could implement in my own life. Yeah,
I totally agree, man. And I think that that thing you're talking about, experience, is so freaking crucial. And I think so many businesses miss it. They miss what's called the experience, and they're so bottom line spreadsheet driven, which obviously there's extreme value inside of it. They miss the customer and what that customer sees, touches, feels, and what that experience is, because that's what the customer's going to talk about over and over again. That's what they're going to. That's how you're going to grow. Is that customer's going to talk about you? Yeah.
One of our values as a law firm is dedicated to constant communication, and my whole goal is to be hyper focused on our clients. I don't care about the $4,000 bill that I just sent them and they have a problem with it. I tell all my clients, take a red pen, write it off. It's not about the money. It's not about the bill. It's about the relationship. It's like I want to make you happy at the end of the result, and I want to make sure that you feel like you're valued and you've come to the right law firm to take care of your needs. I
want to talk to you about. I love this. I grew up and my dad was being a teacher, and he would always talk about what he referred to in life as keywords in life, and it's just kind of like a father to a son, and he would pick certain words. And he would just go off on a teaching tangent for like 3 months straight on one word. Every time I got around him, right? We'd be in a car driving after a sporting event, and he was bringing up this word again. And I think right now there's 176,000 words in the American Dictionary, I believe, last time I saw. But out of those 176,000 words, there's certain words that are extremely important, right? And one of the words that we talked about was the word communicate. And you just mentioned it again, which made me think of it. What you talked about right there is communication in business, but also in relationships, right? Children, partners, whatever it may be. Talk to me about the word communicate and how that's a key word in life.
I'm pausing here because you cannot. You can't underline that enough to know how important it is. And if you think about it, where we came from. There's a reason. Why are you and I right here, right? We could be doing this over a Zoom call, as we have Zoom now and all these functions. But why do we get together? Why do we live in cities together? Why don't we just live in our little huts and are separated from each other? Because there's something about eye contact. There's something about humanity and communicating, you know? In the early days when you needed to communicate to hunt, you know, take down a bigger mammal so you can eat for the year. You know, think about it back then, the mammoth, you know, communicate and coordinate spears and stuff like that. Communication is life, you know, to me, and I firmly believe that because it's the way that, how do I get my ideas, right? And we all have our own lenses we see the world through. You know, that's just based on our experiences, the way we look at the world, you know, our childhood experiences, our training. That all adds up to how we see the world. But how do I communicate my ideas through my rose-colored glasses to get through your rose-colored glasses such that you hear and you comprehend what I want to communicate?
Yeah.
And I think that's the greatest challenge on earth because two people will never see things exactly the same, right? Maybe if you put them in the same environment, same training, they'll see the world exactly the same. Until then, we all have our different backgrounds and everything. So like I teach our associates and I teach anyone who wants to listen, we're really great, you know, with thumb warriors, as I call us, you know, on the cell phones and texting and everything like that. I said, so you've communicated words. And so there was a Harvard study, I don't want to take credit for it, but, you know, they say communication can be broken down as 55% body language, 43% 38% of voice, you know, vocal intonations.
Voice, modulation.
7% is the words themselves. And I tell people, it's like, you ever gone on a foreign film and you don't understand the language at all, but you kind of understand what's going on?
Yeah.
You know, that's that 93% of communication. He's mad about her something. She did something. I don't know what she did, but he's really mad at her. You kind of understand what's going on in that. But take both of that away and you just have the words.
Right.
And I tell people, it's like, do you think you can be misunderstood by just communicating 7% of your language?
Yeah.
And I try to teach, it's like, don't worry, that 93%, whether you think about it, is always filled in.
Yeah.
And think about with your best friends. It's easy to send a text, right? They're not going to take offense. They know who you are. They love you. They know your idioms. Idioms. Idioms and everything like that. But what if it was a complete stranger? You know, we're setting up a business meeting, and I was texting you some words. Oh, well, that's offensive. And the person doesn't show up. Yeah. You didn't mean to offend them, but you did somehow, and you don't know why.
Right.
To me, communication is the difference between success and not success.
Yeah. I mean, communication, if you think about it, like I was sitting thinking when you first started talking, like, how did me and you get here? And it was through communication, not between me and you, but between mutual connections. Yeah. And it all came from that person communicating with this person who knew that I had a show, and then that person was communicating with you that knew that you had a product, a business. It's all through communication that this comes in. People ask me all the time, hey Drew, why don't you do the show on Zoom? You could do so many more shows if you did them on Zoom. And it's literally what you just said right there. I didn't want to shoot the podcast just to have a podcast. Like, I wasn't just trying to have get on Zoom and have some person just give a bunch of opinions and advice, which I do those all the time with me on them. But I have never shot one Money is show on a Zoom. They're all in person, and the reason I'm doing them in person is because of the actual communication. When we're sitting in my office, it's like you said, it's the body language, it's the voice modulations, it's the laughter that you have, it's all those things that you don't get experience when it's just on a computer. I'm sitting in my office and I call you 5 minutes beforehand. I jump on, I talk, and it's like, all right, see you later, thanks. Yeah. And it's funny because like when I do those podcasts, very, 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 very rare. When I say I do, I'm meaning I'm on as a guest. Does anything actually ever come from that podcast? Not meaning business-wise, maybe it does, but I'm saying no relationship is formed between me and that other person. Not at all. There's no real communication between me and them. However, when I do the podcast where they're here and you come here, we spend the day together and we're actually able to communicate, dude, I have seen so many relationships, businesses, ideas, concepts formed, created, pursued. Why? Because we took the time to actually sit down and communicate with each other. And
there's so much in that, right? I mean, our 5 senses, how we communicate. You know, eyes, part of is touch. Yep. You know, why do we shake hands in the beginning? Yep. I know it's a custom, but also it's one of those things is biologically, it's fight or flight. Can I trust you? And I don't think we have too much of that nowadays in our society, but it's still biological in the sense of, can I trust you? Do I need to run? Yeah. Gosh, I don't know. And there's that connection, being physically present and talking with someone versus over Zoom, that you miss that connection. Yeah. And there's just something about, you know, touch. Touch is the thing. You know, they did studies, funny enough, on how babies grow up abnormally if they're not touched. It's humanity at the end of the day. You know, that's who we are. You know, we want to touch, we want to hug, we want to be part of everybody's lives. And Zoom, which is great, you know, and I've definitely felt a need during COVID and some other stuff, cannot replace touch.
I'm thinking about, I literally have it on I'm a big Trello board person who uses Trello or not.
I love Trello.
Yeah, and I have one of my things is future ideas and so forth that I work on, and I have an idea to write, kind of similar for my dad, the 31 key words in life, and I'm trying to narrow it down, like what, in my opinion, are the 31, like a daily word that's the key word in life, and I think communicate has to be on that list.
Has to be.
Of the top 31 things, because without it, what the heck are we? Like what the heck are we, man? Even if you think about like people that are deaf or mutes, they still learn how to communicate through sign language. They still communicate. They don't not communicate. Right. They still communicate. They can't talk, but they still communicate.
How about Helen Keller? How about Helen Keller, who was deaf and blind?
Yeah.
What'd they do?
Yep.
Touch, spelled out things on your hand. This is who you are.
Yeah. It's insane. I think communicate has to be one of those 31 words, man.
I don't think anything happens without it. If you think about it.
No, I agree. Like it's a key component of life, right? Not just about it's a word like other words that come to my mind, but are important. Like communicate is like, no, it is life. Yeah. Like it is how we
communicate
do
is part
things.
Of community,
yeah.
Right? I mean, there's a reason we live together. We can all live separate apart, assuming there's enough land.
Right.
I could live 10 miles from any person.
Yeah.
But we don't want to.
We don't.
We want to live in cities. We want to congregate. We want to go to restaurants. We want to go to bars. We want to, you know, I think as COVID has reopened a lot of stuff, we want to be there.
Yeah.
We want to see each other.
Yeah, so true. I want to kind of ask this question here. Let's talk about the main thing here, which is money is blank with Anthony here. So I'm going to give this to you. You answer whatever, 1 word, 2 words, whatever it is. You fill that in here, sign it right here, and then me and you will chat about what that answer is.
I love it.
There you go.
All right.
There you go.
Oh, thank you.
So this is Anthony Geraci's word of what money is, and money is time. Money is time by Anthony Geraci. All right, let's talk about it, man. Time.
Everything within that. Everything within what we've been talking about today.
Yeah.
So, planes, for instance.
Yep.
Well, private planes saves time, right?
Yeah, you cannot argue that point.
No.
You cannot argue the point.
There's a reason I could fly in last night, and I could have flown in this morning, but I wanted to do it, and I can fly home tonight, be with my family.
Yep.
Time gives
And what
me
does that?
money. Yeah, money allows me to buy private time.
Yep.
Right? Money allows you, if you think about it, after all of your needs are done, and we talk about millionaires, billionaires, trillionaires.
Right.
You know, it's funny. I've often thought about this a lot. It's what separates you and me from, say, Jeff Bezos. Well, we don't have 200 homes. We have 1. We don't have 200 cars. We may have 1 or 2.
Okay.
We don't have 200 jets or a big yacht, but we can get a yacht. And what separates us from people? We all have TVs. We all have computers. Most homes have internet. We are connected to the human knowledge right now, and that's from anybody with almost, not the poorest of the people, of course, but with medium class, lower to medium class economic status, all the way up to Jeff Bezos. We have the same stuff, maybe not as nice stuff or bigger stuff, but what all money does is it allows us to be by time. So my goal in being an entrepreneur is to get enough money so I can focus my time on what I want. Maybe I want to go build another business. Maybe I want to go have experiences with my kids. I want to, spend my time wisely. And money gives me options, since it gives me the ability to, I can do whatever I want. I can really focus on what I can add to the world. And money buys time.
This is a funny one because there's this saying that you hear all the time that I kind of disagree with, and I'm going to philosophize here with you and see what you think.
Please.
That says, you've heard your whole life, money can't buy time. And I think that's adamantly false.
I do too.
Like, that's not a true statement. Like, well, money cannot buy time. I mean, and I think what they're trying to say in that is like money can't maybe extend your life or whatever. But no, dude, money is buying time. There's only one of me, right? And I got 24 hours in a day. Therefore, I have to put my 24 hours somewhere. And if I don't have enough money, even now, right? I have money now, but if I don't have the next level of money, there's certain things that I cannot do.
100%.
I can't do them.
Rockefeller said it best, in my opinion. So John Rockefeller said, I would rather have 1% in 100 people's lives
Yeah.
than me having 100% of my own life earning money.
Yeah.
Right? I'd rather have 1%, giving someone 1% to earn off their lives than 100% of my lives.
Yeah.
And yet, you know, most people, as I think we talked about, you know, working. Well, most people don't have the flexibility that we do as far as they're working 9 to 5 or
Yeah.
sometimes 12-hour days.
Yeah.
They're working day in, day out. Their carrot at the end of that rainbow is retirement.
Yeah.
And I don't want retirement necessarily. I want enough money to focus the time where I want to be. You know, and my skill set. You know, funny enough, at my age, I start to figure out what I like. And you know, honestly, at the end of the day, I'm that 8-year-old kid with Legos. I like to build things.
Yeah.
You know, I want to put the Legos in something. I want to build a house or build whatever my creative brain allows me to build at the time.
Yeah.
I want to build. You
Right.
know, and money allows me the time to choose my destiny.
Yep, it's 100% true, man. Money can buy time. And it's funny because there's all these. We talked about cliches earlier, and there's money cliches that were said that are just like, I don't think that's true, man.
Right.
I know I was taught that, but I don't think that's true. Like, money can't buy happiness. I kind of disagree with that one.
Yeah.
And not that you cannot be happy without money. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying when you have money. Let me give you an example. You're about to take your kids on a family tradition of going to the Major League Baseball All-Star game.
Yeah.
When you take your boys, let's just say, and you travel the world, America, going to all the different cities to play and watching all these All-Star games and home run derbies and that, you're telling me that's not happiness? Okay. Like sitting in the bleachers, eating popcorn and hot dogs with your kid, cheering for home runs to happen. Like, no, dude, that is happiness. And you know what provided it? Money. I'm
creating memories. Like, money allows me to create memories with my kids, my family, my friends.
Yeah.
And those are the stuff that we hold on to.
Yeah. It goes back to the baseball game is going to cost you something. You're going to need time to go do that.
Yeah.
If you want that time, well, you got to have money to be able to have the flexibility to go have the time to go take off those 3 days in July and go do the All-Star game. So yeah, I totally agree, man. Money for sure is time, and money can buy time. It really can. By time. Awesome answer, Anthony. I love having you on the show, man. Excited about Innovate and Captivate. Such a cool freaking idea and a niche market. Like so much what you do, like I freaking love. Because it's like so much of how I view it in business and the niche markets and so forth. And honestly, man, congratulations on all your success in your law firm, especially. Incredible success, man.
Thank you.
You guys want to follow and make sure that you go to a website for the free copy of the book that you guys will send out. And of course, they can also sign up for your Geraci Con. If they want to go to that, they can sign up for that as well. Or of course, if they need the lending information of how to actually do the right contract so you don't get screwed and someone's actually thought ahead of all the things that could happen in a room of 20 attorneys. You guys can make sure you go to his website. If you watch the show, hope you guys enjoyed this episode of The Money Is Show. We'll see you next week on The Money Is Show.